What's good, family? So smash the like button, subscribe, and lick off the bell. So, as you man have seen by the title, Deontay Wilder has spoken his first words and broken his silence since getting tucked in by Tyson. Oh, Fury. This is what Deontay had to say. I did my best, but it wasn't good enough tonight. I'm not sure what happened. I knew that he didn't come in 277 pounds to be a ballet dancer. He came to lean on me, try to rough me up, and he succeeded. Now, at first glance, my heart was warmed by these words. Why? Because you man know me, and me and many others, to be fair. In fact, I think the consensus opinion was every single fan who knows anything about this sport was extremely proud of both men. However, again, the other consensus was that Wilder spoilt the moment, spoilt the vibe. Yes, we want him to have that fire in his belly still for Fury. I want nothing more than fighters to be rock hard for their opponents. However, nodding your head and having that kind of that warrior camaraderie at the end, that don't cost anything. That only adds to your, as a champion, losing, giving it your all. And that in itself is a strength, knowing that, you know what, man, I got bested by the better man. Now it's on me. Now, you know what I mean? It's back on you now, Wilder. It's back on you to go away and cook something up and get yourself back into a position to get that shot again. That's your challenge. You should look at it that way, rather than, mad at him, because whatever has, he was doing this, he was doing that. Whatever, allegedly the reason Wilder's mad, and the reason Wilder doesn't want to shake his hand, is because he believes he cheated last time. Well, guess what? Even if that was the case, he didn't cheat this time. Oops. So you got your wig pushed all the way in for you this time. No excuses. So on that basis, concede it. Yeah? You can't hold grudges. Especially when, guess what, Wilder? You were given 36 minutes to take out any of them frustrations. Yeah, the referee didn't stop anything. The referee and everyone else and Tyson Fury gave you a 36-minute opportunity to do all the nastiest things you could have cooked up. Don't forget, people, before this fight, Wilder was saying, "Oh man, y'all need to read between the lines." Essentially, he was implying he wants to kill Fury. And that's, in my opinion, some people were saying, it's a bit out of taste and whatnot, but for me, fair enough. However, you had the opportunity. Yeah? I was supporting you. When you were taking Fury to court, I was one of the few voices saying, no, Wilder, he's earned that right to have that get back. He earned that. It needs to happen. 100%. But guess what? You had your get back. And he tucked you in nonetheless. At this point, no matter what's happened before, allegedly, you had it. And you couldn't. All them things you said you were going to do, you didn't do. You tried your best, but you came up short. At this point, you have to tip your head and say, yeah, man, you got me on this one. It's almost as if Wilder refuses to internalise any of it. You've been bested, Wilder. And I understand he said something here about, no, he hasn't even really given Fury credit. He said, yeah, he succeeded, but Wilder's ego is so massive, he won't concede that you are the lesser man, Wilder. Bottom line, he has your number. Now, can you do something magical in the next 1 or 2 X amount of years and change that? I don't think it's likely, but you know what I mean? It's one of them ones. That's still on you. You keep putting this on Fury. You keep refusing to take responsibility, bottom line. Yeah? He cheated. It was this. It was that. Anyway, like I said, initially, when Wilder refused to give Fury his props, I was mad. This statement, bear in mind, people, this statement came out, I think, an hour later. So Wilder said no handshake. An hour later, this statement came out. And I was saying, in my post-fight reaction, I did say that I hope Wilder's gone away and he's matured a bit. Well, not mature, but maybe he's thought it over. We know how He'd just been knocked in the head, emotions are running high, and this statement goes some way towards that direction, if that makes sense. This isn't, for example, he could have come out and said, you know what, I was wrong for walking off. Well, he ain't going to do that, but this is a step closer to that kind of thing, to bowing his head and giving credit where credit's due. And maybe, who knows, that was only an hour later. This is going to go one of two ways. Now, I've got another video coming soon. Allegedly, Wilder broke his hand and all this other stuff. So my point is, we're going to find out what direction this is going to go in as much as it can go in the Wilder versus Fury 2 direction. Oh man, my hand was broken there, the referee gave you a long count. It can go that way, or it can go the way more towards this statement here. This statement, he says, I did my best, but it wasn't good enough tonight. So in a way, he is taking responsibility, but it's still he refuses to chop it up to. It's almost like, yeah, he refuses to give Fury any credit. Yeah, I did my best, but it wasn't good enough. Which is also the same as saying Fury is better than you, but he can't fix his mouth to say them words. But like I said, the fact this came an hour later, don't forget, it was only an hour ago, hour before this statement, Wilder was telling Fury to F off. So the fact that he was able to, you know what I mean, come down from that level to here, who knows? This is a positive direction. Hopefully, from this point over the next week or whatever, he can really, you know what I'm saying, really let it go like that. Because I think you need that to move on and to really get better. When you spend so much energy talking about the gloves and talking about this and talking about that, you ain't really focusing on what needs to be done. Because the reason you got beat tonight wasn't because of your heart. And this actually proved a lot of things. Heart can only get you so far. You do need skills at this level. At the top level, everyone's got heart. Well, yeah, at the top, ultimately, at the number one level, everyone has heart. And everyone has pretty good attributes. At that point, it comes down to other parts of the game. Skills, technique. Wilder's skills were moist. Bottom line, he had moist skills. Yeah, the first round he came out, he looked good, but I'm not sure whether that was because he looked good or Fury weren't doing nothing, because he wasn't. Fury was just warming into the fight, it appears. Where Wilder looked really good, but again, Fury weren't doing nothing. Second round, the minute Fury started doing something, Wilder expeditiously fell apart almost. Got popped in the mouth, and it's interesting, a lot of Wilder fans have been saying, don't worry, I'm going to do videos on this, but a lot of Wilder fans have been saying, oh man, he was tired from the third round. Yeah, that's what happens when you put a load of weight on. Oh, but he was never tired before in his career. Listen, Wilder was never fighting anyone decent. This is what you man don't understand. I tried to tell you, your man's fought 40 bums. No one gets tired versus bums. No one gets tired when they're on top. It's very hard to get tired, yeah, when you're dominating a fight and you haven't got to worry about anything coming back. Inversely, it's very easy to get tired when someone is hanging at the back of you and riding the legs off you like an old nag. Yeah, I've got a picture coming. I've got a leak. Yeah, Wilder, he looked like an old nag, and Fury just hopped off him because he'd rolled his legs all the way burnt out. At the very end, about 10 seconds before Wilder rolled over, yeah, there's a picture and Fury's behind Wilder, and honestly, Wilder looks like an old burnt out nag, 100%. All legs burnt out because they've been riding him. At the end of the day, Wilder, Fury rolled you for 11 rounds. Yeah, he took all that energy you had in your legs, all that energy you had about, oh man, I'm gonna kill this man, and what was that? He rolled it out of you. He rolled all that beef out of you, and that's why you must repent. It's a bit like Porky. Porky must repent. Yeah, you've been talking all that good game, and you got it rolled out of you. And all there is to do for now for you, Wilder, is to repent. Chalk it up. Yeah, man. I did my best, and he got my number. Yeah, he rode me. No doubt. He rode me. That's what he did. 100%. He rode me and he tucked me in. Because we all saw the video, the YB did. Yeah, of Fury tucking me in with the teddy bear. No doubt. 100%. Now, before I go, Wilder said sorry that I'm not sure what happened. And this is what I've heard from a lot of Wilder fans, and I do have to kind of give them credit because 99% of them have given Fury a lot of credit, which is nice to see. But there is another 1% who have been saying the same line of thinking. I'm not sure what happened. Listen, what happened was you got popped in the mouth. All that, and I warned people. I did warn people. I said, listen, I've been hearing from one of my sources inside Wilder's camp, and he's been telling me Wilder hasn't been having that ruthless sparring. Yeah, don't forget, people. The only sparring partner we saw Deontay Wilder in the ring with was Robert Helenius. That wasn't by chance. We saw Fury, Jared Anderson, F.A. Jagba. Yeah, serious dudes, serious athletes. So it's no surprise that Fury was prepared to get in there and get stuck in. When you're in there with Robert Helenius, the most useless looking ass. Even though actually Robert Helenius gave your man Kawanowski, gave him the beats. But that's because Kawanowski no good. I never rate. All you man was gassing Kawanowski. He crap. But anyway, the bottom line is, if you want to know about Robert Helenius, yeah, look at Dillian White versus Helenius. He frees. When Robert Helenius gets in front of someone who's decent, he frees up. He ain't no good. And I warned everyone. I said, listen, from what I'm hearing from my sources inside Wilder's camp, I'm not hearing he's really getting that hard, gritty work. Don't get me wrong. I believe he's working hard on the pads. I believe he's working hard with Malik Scott doing technique and fiddly rubbish. But is he doing the work on the hard road? Is he doing that? Unfortunately, he wasn't. And that's why him and his fans are not sure what happened. I'll tell you what happened. All that technique and all that rolling under the hook and doing this, all that stuff. If you've been doing it under pressure, if Wilder was doing them skills in front of Derek Chisora, as an example, someone I know is going to be coming forward and winging big shots. And I said that. I said, listen, if Wilder can get technique off over 12 rounds against Derek Chisora and people of that like, he's going to be. I'm not saying you're going to be 100% guaranteed, but I know that you're battle tested. Wilder weren't battle tested, and it showed. Because 2 rounds in, he was gassed, blown out of his ass, because he put all that viciousness into 2 rounds. And he was too heavy as well. I think Wilder, for the 4th fight, Wilder needs to come in under 220. Maybe 215, to be honest. Because his best fight was the first fight. And, he wasn't getting rolled like he has in the 2nd and 3rd fight. But I still think Wilder hasn't showed me yet that more weight does mean more power. He's put 30 pounds on. Was there more power? Arguably not. How do we know this? Well, let's try and do this mathematically speaking. Wilder put Fury down earlier in the fight, which means his power should be higher at that point, shouldn't it? But Fury never looked KO'd, did he? Compared to the first fight. Them 2 knockdowns, and bear in mind again, people, that was a double knockdown. Double knockdowns should be the worst, shouldn't they? So you've just been rocked once, you get rocked again. So Wilder caught Fury when he was pretty fresh in the 4th round, and Fury weren't bothered at all. So that power, he should have been being 30 pounds heavier, he should have been the most powerful. But I put to you that Wilder, 30 pounds heavier, and even when he came in 230 in the 2nd fight, I believe weight works against Wilder. Why? Makes him much slower. When you look at the Wilder vs Ortiz fight, the 2nd one I think, and he flicks that right hand. I'm not sure how much he weighed, but I'm going to guess it weren't career heaviest. That extra weight don't help with that right hand, I don't believe. It makes it even slower. And it's not adding to the power. How many years have we been hearing about speed kills? So that weight is what happened to you. The weight happened, getting popped in the mouth happened, and the fact you were no skills have an ass happened. You ain't got no skills. That's a fact. Yes, initially you started jabbing to the body, but where did that go? The minute you got gassed, there was no jab. The minute you got gassed, your hands are by your chest. And I was actually surprised. Your gas tank was shocking, but it makes sense because you was super heavy. You put 30. Look at Wilder's legs. Wilder put 30 pounds on, and none of it was legs. It was all arms, which is even worse because then that's your main weapon. It's one thing if you've got big legs and your legs get tired, which means you're just going to stand still, which Wilder was anyway. And that's the thing. Wilder's legs were so skinny, he couldn't move his heavy upper frame around, so he was stuck in the mud anyway. And then his arms he couldn't move because he was full of lactic acid. I could see people say, "Oh, YB, why was Wilder looking like a zombie?" You man obviously haven't done sport and haven't been exhausted before. Trust me, when you've got lactic acid going around your body, you feel like a zombie. Wilder was zombified with lactic acid, no doubt. Why was he? Why? And people say things like, "Why be? He's been training. He looks like an athlete." People don't realise that muscles, like your cardiovascular system, so your heart and your lungs, those are what give you gas. You can be ripped as, I mean, the last few weeks should have proven us that. Look at AJ, look at Wilder. If you looked at them, you'd say, yeah, they're fit. But their hearts and their engines are crap. Why? I believe their trainers don't know what they're doing. Yeah? They do running. They do a whole load of low level running. I've been running 10 miles every day. What's that doing? Boxing is not a slow aerobic sport where you're just going forever at a slow pace. Everything you do, I believe, should be trying to replicate that. But we see people all the time. Look at bag work. People on the bag, they're just going through the motions. But then in the fight, they're throwing leather with every shot. Don't make no sense. You have to replicate what you do in training in the ring. People will do, for example, people will do sparring, and they'll just be going through the motions. That's why I do rate Mayweather to an extent. I don't believe you should do it every day, but Mayweather used to get in there and really go for it. Why is that important? And I believe that's possibly an element why Floyd was able to remain so calm and have such a great gas tank, because he used to go harder in training, harder in the sparring gym than he was in the fight. He went so hard in the sparring gym, when it came to the real fight, his heart and his lungs were already prepared, because he'd been putting in more effort. And it makes sense. I've seen some of Floyd's sparring. He throws a lot more shots in sparring. He's a lot more active in sparring, and that's what you should be doing. You should be more active. But from what I've seen from most fighters, when they're sparring, it's all going through the motions. There's no real commitment there. It's all kind of just flowing. I mean, look at AJ versus Usyk. That's the definition of someone who's been in camp, just going through the motions, flowing. Amateur style flowing. No conviction. And to be fair to Wilder had the conviction on fight night, but I don't believe he's been training like that. Bottom line is, he ran out of gas after 2 rounds. He should have been in there with some people like Derek Chisora. He should have flown Derek Chisora around and people like that and told him, literally, Wilder, should have been having, I'd have 6 sparring partners, 4 sparring partners, and every round a new one. And they should have been getting in, having a go on him, a new one in, fresh one. Yeah, I'd find 3 of the toughest dudes. Derek Chisora would have been one of them. Maybe Joe Joyce. In fact, Joe Joyce, Derek Chisora, get them 2 man in, one round on, one round off. So you get Joe Joyce in for the length and the pace, and you get Chisora in for the work. And 1 round on, 1 round off. So Wilder does 12 rounds, and then man, hopping on him, hopping off him, hopping on him, hopping off him. That'll get him ready. Instead, what do? They bring in Hellenius, big, stiff, goofy-looking ass, just stand there. What's that preparing you for? I'm under no illusions Wilder was able to get his right hand off against Hellenius, big, stiff-looking ass. What's that doing? Oops. After 2 rounds, all your training was done. After 2 rounds in there with Fury, all that Robert Hellenius training, you'd spent it all. Seriously. 12 rounds Robert Hellenius converts to about 1 round with Fury. Oops. You spent you spent 6 weeks of sparring with Hellenius in 1 round with Fury. And call me a liar. Wilder was spent after 2 rounds of work. Because that's how he was training. Bottom line. So you was asking what happened. I'm not sure what happened. I've just explained to you what happened. And it's not just Wilder, to be fair. There is a systemic issue with conditioning in boxing. People don't really know what they're doing. That's my bottom line. That's why you've got people at the very top of the sport. AJ. I mean, it's not even just them, man. It's loads of people have. But AJ in particular and Wilder in particular don't know how to condition themselves. Pumping weights, for example. Pumping weights. And the reason people have always said YB, we always told you AJ's a pumped up weightlifter. The reason I've never really criticised AJ and Wilder for lifting weights is because I thought, I still believe you can lift weights as long as you're conditioning and growing naturally with it and conditioning the muscle the right way. It's not a problem. The problem is when you're pumping weights and then You're not adding the engine behind it. Your heart and your lungs must grow. Your heart and the infrastructure around them, around your muscles, must grow with your muscles. Otherwise, you're just a bodybuilder, Wilder. You're just a bodybuilder, AJ. If you don't make your lungs and your heart grow as well, then you're good for nothing. As we found out, both men were good for nothing. Yes, Wilder has more heart than AJ, but ultimately, he was done, wasn't he, for the last 5 rounds? For the last 5 rounds, Wilder did nothing. He was an accident waiting to happen. And Fury really allowed him to get punished for that long. Because Fury himself was overloading. If Fury had listened to Sugar Hill, and stepped back and just popped his head off with a jab, I think Wilder could have been in serious trouble. I think Wilder could have ended up like Adonis Stevenson. If Fury had wanted to, if Fury had backed off and just kept popping him with a jab, I think he may have been in serious trouble, because his head would have been rattled. So in a way, Fury the most merciful, because he chose to hit him with big singles rather than just keep popping his head off for him. Because at one point, Wilder had no legs, his arms were by his waist, and Fury could have just been feinting, jab, feint, double jab, feint, jab his nut right off for him, and then square him up and put a right hand down there. But anyway, I've explained what happened to Wilder. Wilder, when you hear this video, in the description is my Twitter. If you want to get some proper cardio, get at me, and I'll come sort you out. Yeah. The first week's free, no doubt, 100%. That goes for you as well, AJ, and all these goofy so-called trainers. If you and your man want to have some cardio, like I said, Twitter is in the description and the bio. Your man the YB will sort you man out, get you man certified cardio. Yeah? 30-day money back guarantee, no doubt. Wilder says, I know that he didn't come in at 277 to be a ballet dancer. He came in to lean on me, tried to rough me up, and he succeeded. Well, anyway, you know, I've said that Wilder hasn't really conceded the fact, but you know what? That is somewhat conceding to Fury. He came in to lean on me, to try and rough me up, and he succeeded. Yeah, Fury came in there to ride the legs off me, and he succeeded. So yeah, I can say now I am proud of Wilder for saying these things. It would have been a lot more effectual. He'd have got a lot more ratings if he'd done it in the ring. And I think maybe he'll regret that. If this is what he's saying now, he could have said that in the ring afterwards. Because the thing is, Wilder, you can still believe them things. You can still believe Fury is a TWAT. But you can't take away from what happened in that ring that night. Because you had your opportunity. You had every opportunity to do the things you wanted to do before the fight. And you couldn't get it done. So you got to just suck it up at this point. Suck it up and chalk it up to the game. Yeah? No doubt.